Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just a little less than 3 months away from its official release by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio, as well as creator George Lucas. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, what's truly exciting about Episode 9 is that we do know that this film is, of course, going to have many different connections to the prequels and the originals. That's really going to bring fans back to the past 8 Star Wars movies in a very nostalgic way by J.J. Abrams, and that's exactly what he wants to do, is that this movie not only will serve as the culmination of the Skywalker saga, but it's also going to be a film that's going to honor the Skywalker bloodline and everything that Luke, Anakin, and more did throughout the actual movies. Now, on top of all of this, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the set leaks, this is where things begin to get very intense for Episode 9. Now, specifically, what's really intriguing about all of this is that it's described that one of the scenes that were filmed involved both Mark Hamill and Daisy Ridley on set over in Cardington during the month of January of this year, where it's explained that the set was used for the planet of Ahch-To, where Rey was said to be standing on the edge of a cliff looking down at a large body of water in a tank with an X-Wing set piece under the water. It's explained that one of the scenes involved Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker appearing behind Rey and lifting the X-Wing for Rey out of the water, where the effect was done by a large crane lifting the X-Wing out of the tank of water. It's described that initially J.J. Abrams wanted to do it as a CGI effect. However, George Lucas proposed that they use a practical effect to add in realism and to stay true to how the scene was done in Empire Strikes Back. It said that while this happens, a brand new theme for Luke Skywalker is said to play over the entire scene that is described to be the greatest piece by John Williams, as it honors the Skywalker bloodline, and that the scene in the film is described to be based at the very end of the second act of the film, where Rey is said to take the X-Wing and later leave Ahch-To, with Luke Skywalker's Force Ghost watching her leave the atmosphere, followed by voiceover work by Frank Oz as Yoda, talking to Luke in the form of a Force Ghost voice. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, the reason as to why I think that this is honestly very clever of JJ to do is it kind of does match directly up with The Last Jedi, and it makes a shot in The Last Jedi serve as foreshadowing. You guys may recall that when Rey is on the world of Ahch-To in The Last Jedi when she first arrives, and after she goes and looks over the cliff, after Luke Skywalker throws his saber over the cliff, she looks at the body of water and sees how the X-Wing is underneath the surface of the ocean of course, Ahch-To. Now, what's really intriguing about this is that that actually makes the Last Jedi shot serve as a piece of foreshadowing of what's going to happen in Episode 9, where Rey travels back to Ahch-To, and Luke Skywalker's Force Ghost is able to pull the X-Wing out of the water and landing it on top of that very cliff, where Rey is said to hop into the X-Wing and pilot it and go off of the world of Ahch-To, leaving the atmosphere and leaving Luke's Force Ghost behind, where new dialogue of Yoda's Force Ghost is said to tune in to Luke Skywalker as a Force Ghost, watching Rey leave the world. Now, it's unclear if this takes place during the day or at nighttime. We're still not quite sure about that, but other than the fact about, how Mark Hamill and Daisy Ridley were heavily involved in this particular scene, it's also said that John Williams developed, or composed, I should say, a very iconic theme for Luke Skywalker himself that is said to be used as Rey actually gets the X-Wing after Luke Skywalker lifts it out of the water. Now, this also matches up with the other leaks that we went over, and even some of the set leaks, the pictures that we saw a couple of weeks ago, and even a couple of months ago even, that dates that far back, where Luke Skywalker's X-Wing was seen actually being lifted off of course, one of the sets over at Pinewood. You guys may recall those photographs that leaked out almost a year ago at this point. Time flies by. But one thing I also want to go over here is, of course, how Ahch-To, the world of Ahch-To, it's not said to be a huge world in The Rise of Skywalker. It's said to be a brief appearance. I'm going to go ahead and estimate around maybe 10 minutes, maybe even below that. Rey is actually said to only go there to recollect her thoughts and to essentially kind of get a better idea of what her place is in the galaxy, and that's when Luke's Force Ghost comes into play. And on top of that, there's a flashback or two involving a younger version of Luke over on Ahch-To in one of the sequences in the second act. So, with that being said, I can really see how JJ's ambitious and how this also echoes that of The Empire Strikes Back, but I could also see other people's arguments about this of how it's a little too close as to what happened in The Empire Strikes Back, right? because we already got a scene like this, why do it again? I'm not quite sure, but honestly, I think that at this point in time, since The Rise of Skywalker is relying on nostalgia in order to really satisfy fans, it seems like that's exactly what they're trying to do by doing something brand new at the same exact time by creating this parallel for the character of Rey, who seems to be a mirror version of, Luke Skywalker, of his travels, in the original trilogy. You can see parallels there where she goes back to Ahch-To, Luke Skywalker goes back to Dagobah. You can see the similarities. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.